It's a new year for Big Skills Tiny Homes. Here we go, round two. Starting our second build. 3 really delightful students, great attitudes. We're getting right to it, pulling out the miter saw and building a workbench that can also store 4x8 sheets. Sheets of drywall, sheets of plywood. It was quite a strange week as there was a ton of smoke and ash, particularly Wednesday. This is the same time as the previous day, but as you can tell, it's almost dark. The sky was dark and orange and strange as a result of the smoke from fires north of us. Made for a very strange day, but we still made the best of it and we still made great progress. I am so excited to announce our partnership with Youth Spirit Artworks in Berkeley and Oakland, California, as we will be building a tiny house for them in their tiny house village. On Thursday, I went and picked up these supplies, which made it back safely and will be built into the next tiny house. Okie dokie, here we go. Week 2, our first complete week of the next round of Big Skills Tiny Homes, and we're making a workbench that also stores sheets of drywall and sheets of plywood. And there's a little more zoomed in, a little pixelated, but zoomed in. There we are, putting what we pretended were rafters on top. Putting the blocking on there, getting it all ready to be painted soon. Spent some time and effort moving all the materials off of the tiny house, getting ready so that we would have our foundation. Now that the trailer has been cleared off, we will take a peek at the insulation and the trailer, make sure everything's nice and level, make sure it's adjusted just the way we want. Then we'll lock it in place, mark out where all the floor joists are because they're hidden, and we'll fill all the gaps with some expanding foam. Make sure we get good insulation on the bottom. Next, we will be attaching the floor, the subfloor, to those marked floor joists, and also around the edge we'll clamp it down to the trailer. Use some construction adhesive. Eventually it'll all get bolted down. Now it'll keep things nice and level. Here comes our painting of the workbench. Here we are cutting most all the pieces for the walls of the tiny house. We have 3 cut stations going, 2 Skills-Saw cut stations and 1 with the miter saw. I guess only 1 was on camera there. Here we are laying out the back of the tiny house as we get it all laid out, put together there on the workbench. Then we'll move it over and secure it into place. and a little something to show for it. Okie doke, week 3. We start with 1 wall, and spoiler alert, we end with 4. We're assembling the little chunks of wall over on that workbench back to the right there, getting them framed up, lined up, squared up, and then moved into place. So here comes the second section of the wall closest to us. That'll be sent our way here in a second. There it is. It's up. Most of the week was spent doing the framing of the walls, which is really fun, fast, exciting part, is the walls really take shape quickly. You can really see what you've got and really start to envision the space. We also are bracing the walls with some metal strapping and putting in some bolts and some all-thread rod to hold everything very snugly to the trailer. So most of the wall framing is almost done. We're lapping top plates on top of each other at the end, and we're also creating an angled piece that goes in that's going to match the slope of the roof. So Friday we started with priming our siding. I would recommend buying pre-primed siding. Saves a lot of work. But it got it primed up so it's ready to be installed, and we'll prime the other side when it's in place. The other part of Friday was getting those bolts and the all-thread rod into place. Hasn't quite been tightened down yet. And a big thank you to Karen, one of our students who took our still photographs. Thank you. Week 4 is in the books. And it was an exciting week. We put the roof on. So this first day of the week, we're getting the anchor bolts and the all-thread rods. We have a large all-thread rod in each corner. Anchor bolts, 2 anchor bolts in every plate, at least. Got those guys in, then we start to frame up the roof. Framing it up on that workbench back to the right, and we got the hard hats on, so we got a pose for a picture. Looking good in the hard hats. Lifting heavy things above your head. It's nice to be wearing a hard hat. Here comes the exciting part. We're gonna lift the roof, which we framed, and we're gonna lift it up and slide it over. Taking our time, not going too fast, making sure everything feels good. Sliding it on in, getting it in place. Almost in, almost there. All right, there we go. It's in, the roof is in. Some nice pictures of our preparations. Nice to have these stills. Karen, thank you. So now, of course, we stabilize everything. The roof gets hurricane clips and A35 clips to make sure it stays exactly where we want it relative to the walls. So we'll be pounding in those nails, getting some good practice swinging the hammer. Once the rafters and the roof are nicely tightened down and sturdily in place, we bring up the roof sheathing, the plywood that covers the top of the roof. Here it is, getting installed. Screwing down a couple of screws in each piece, make sure they're right where we want it. Then we come back later with the nail gun and nail it off tight around all the edges, making sure it's not going anywhere. And there it is, looking up from the bottom. We got a roof, kind of. Friday was a nice chill day, trimming off some little bits of extra, putting in the remaining blocks, cutting some final holes for the electrical. Week 5 puts us into putting on the house wrap, getting the house ready to be sealed up and watertight. So the house wrap goes around, it's trimmed off around the wheel wells, which brings us to putting the siding on. Here comes the siding, our drooping camera. Gotta love the drooping camera. We need to do a little trim around the top before we put on the fascia boards. I love this picture with the sawdust flying. Which brings us to nailing off all the siding. So we take a lot of time to mark where all the studs are and mark out where the straps are so we don't shoot nails into the straps. And then lots of nails. Nails, nails everywhere. Now it's time to put the openings in. The holes for the windows, the holes for the doors. It really starts to take shape. We can really get a sense for what the tiny house is going to be. Another great week out at the tiny house. Started off with priming the siding. We primed the back earlier, now we primed what we could see. Need to have it primed up before we put on the windows, which is what's coming at us next. So getting the whole thing primed, making sure that the siding's gonna last. Looks nice. Next, we begin the process of flashing the windows, which begins with the bottom. We flash around the bottom and put some caulking around the top and the sides. The window goes on, it's leveled, screwed into place, and flashing then goes around the top and the sides. It's important to really roll the flashing tight and to get a nice fat bead of caulking around the side. Of course, you're checking level and plumb constantly. That's what we do. The windows go right on in. Very nice windows. With the windows in and all flashed, it's time to do the hanging of the door. The door is tilted up there and is flashed in a similar fashion. Here's the front door, there's the back door. Now it's time for the trim. Time to pretty it up, cover up the flashing, make it look finished. So the trim goes on. As we come up on Friday, we kind of finish caulking any little gaps or holes, making sure it's all waterproofed. I would put some plastic over the top so it can be transported over to Oakland, and someone's gonna hot roll the roof for us. Week 7 at the tiny house. Monday, roughing in the electrical. Tuesday was time for the rock wool insulation. Wow, did it make a difference in keeping it quiet, even temperature in there. All right, time to rock it out. Let's get the sheetrock up on the walls. There's some exciting news in the Big Skills Camp. As this tiny house nears completion, it will be heading to Oakland for the Youth Empowerment Village there. Our next tiny house will be going to a family who lost their home in the Bear Fire. We are going to gift them a custom tiny house so they can get back to their land, back to their community, back to their lives. Okay, a whole week of making the walls nice and smooth. So the drywall was hung last week, and now we're going to tape it up. That's a day. Taping the joints is a day. Big thank you to Eric. He came and was our expert, gave us some real pro tips on applying the mud. Really, really useful. Thank you, Eric. And the first pass with the mud is a day. Then there's the second pass with the mud is a day. Sanding in between, working to get everything nice and smooth, because then here comes the primer. Getting the trim on there around the windows and doors. There's some work going on outside that you can't see. Cutting those guys to length, priming the ends of them, nailing them in. Good sand on, getting everything smoothed down as much as we possibly can. And then we get to do a little bit of the prep for the painting, for the priming. Taping off the windows, taping off the doors, taping spots where we don't want paint. Super grateful to have Peter come and give us some pro tips on painting. So helpful to get some tips from a pro. Nice to get that coat on there. It's looking good. It's looking like it's almost ready for some paint. That comes Monday. Okay, took us 9 weeks to do the dorm room, as I'm calling this tiny house for Youth Spirit Artworks. It's a dorm room. It's a nice bedroom. Monday was painting. Thank you again to Peter, who came out and helped us with the painting. So nice to have a pro. Thank you, Peter. Monday was painting. Tuesday, the floor. has electric heating underneath the floor. So that goes in first. And then comes the laminate, the click together laminate. That goes together pretty quick. We had enough time to mill down some reclaimed redwood. We're going to wrap the wheel well that gets high traffic by it. The wheel well there by the door will be wrapped in that nice reclaimed redwood. Wednesday, we finish up all the electrical work. Get the lights in, the outlets in. That brings us to Thursday. Thursday is all about the trim. Get the trim put in around the baseboards and around the wheel well. And Friday was about making it pretty. Doing the last little bits of things, the little punch list, getting things cleaned up and made as nice as possible. Here comes our little tour of the dorm room. Covered up the switchboard with the nice little whiteboard. People are rocking out. You know, it's time to celebrate. We finished this guy and we're ready to see it off to the tiny house village. I think it'll be a really nice home for somebody. Big week at the tiny house. We have a 4th student. Sandy, welcome. Very glad to have you. The second big exciting thing, brand new trailer. Brand new trailer for the second build of this season. This one's going to a wildfire survivor. We'll be telling you more about that soon. More big news. The small tiny house is out of here. There it goes. Oh my goodness. Very exciting to see it roll out. It's got a great new home. It is headed to Oakland at the Youth Empowerment Village, organized by Youth Spirit Artworks. Here's a picture of that tiny house village, and there is our tiny house there. Thank you, George, for driving and for those pictures. As we work on the trailer, we drill some holes so that we can drill some screws up from underneath into that pressure-treated rim that you see there. Next day, more big stuff. The lumber shipment's supposed to arrive. It's running a little late, so what do? Well, you put the hole for the toilet into the decking there, and then you also build a set of stairs. So we built the stairs and waited on the building materials. There they are. There are the materials. There's your tiny house right there. It'll just take us a few months to get it put together. There we unpack it, get it ready to be used. And now the insulation goes down. Make sure none of the cold can creep up from underneath. And that paper is simply used as leveling. It has no other purpose, but it levels it for us nicely. Gets a good flat surface for the floor, which is about to come on. Put down some construction adhesive, which helps also with the leveling, keep everything in place. And the floor goes on. So that's where we end our week, with the trailer with the floor. Really nice thing to have ready. All right, here we go, getting ready for the rain. Getting the materials moved up onto some blocks up off the ground. And we're going to make our jack stands, stabilizing jacks, used to stabilize the trailer. Make sure it doesn't move around as we're working on it. Keep it nice and level, front to back, side to side. And Tuesday, we're getting ready for the rains. Making sure that we have a little rain structure that can help us when it starts to rain a little later on in the rainy season. We'll be able to have a little bit of a roof. It's way up there. It was tough. It was tough to put that thing up. Took our time and we balanced it out and eventually got it up there. Next day we did a little bit of tree trimming and finished it off. Then we started to work on cutting all the pieces, all the framing pieces for the tiny house, kind of making a tiny house kit. There you can see the pieces of the tiny house being collected on the trailer, and those make up all the walls. It's kind of like a little kit for a tiny house right there on top of the trailer. Here we are on Friday, finishing our cuts, cutting all the pieces for the walls. We even began to frame up the front wall and the back wall. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you guys have a great holiday. Fantastic week at the tiny house. Very exciting week as we put the tarp on top of the rain structure to keep the dew off. I don't know how it'll do for keeping rain of the storm on there, but it'll definitely help with the dew and light rain for sure. So it's useful. It's up. And now we are stick framing. We had cut the pieces earlier. Now we're putting them all together, a flat, on the trailer, and then we'll lift it up. Squaring everything. And here comes the big payoff, the money shot. Here it is. We're gonna tilt this wall up Thursday, compressed into this very short clip. So we slowly, carefully raise this first wall, which is exceptionally heavy with that overhang, that cantilever. We call it, that's wall A, that side is wall A, and that one was tough. There it is, up, wall A is up. And now we are ready to tip up wall B, which was a lot easier. It was lighter, we kind of prepared for it. Up it goes. Wall B in place. And then the front and the back, much smaller, much lighter, easy to put on. And of course there's lots of time with the level and adjusting the plumb and the square, making sure our walls are straight up and down. Another great week at the tiny house build site. Monday was all about the loft, framing the floor for the loft. That loft was a lot of extra work. Adds a little bit of complexity to the geometry. It sticks out, overhangs. Tuesday, we're getting the loft floor. Put the floor on the loft so we can bring that wall up and get to the roof. That required to insulate it, so we needed to insulate the floor first. Now we're ready for the rafters. Wednesday we cut and placed the rafters. Thursday we put the roof sheathing up. Got the pieces of plywood staggered and placed nicely upon the rafters, and started putting in the metal strapping to add some stability. Friday, we got to do some waterproofing. We put some roofing paper on the roof, and then put a tarp on top of that. We also did the house wrap. So we feel pretty good about a little rain coming this weekend. It's starting to come together. Another great week at the tiny house. Monday we put the hold downs in the corners, and then we get to welcome you inside. That's exciting. We have an inside cam as we begin to put the windows and the door into place and get those well waterproofed, properly flashed and sealed in. We are so grateful to the folks at Charles Window and Glass in San Rafael who donated each and every one of our windows and our beautiful door. Thank you. One of the windows, I misread the size of the window and we needed to reframe it there at the back. So we reframed it so that it would fit properly. Good learning experience for everyone, I am sure. And we get the last window in, and then the door. What a beautiful door. Again, thank you to Charles Windows for the wonderful door. And happy holidays to everyone, as we will be taking a couple weeks off to spend time with our families and to rest, reflect. Oh my goodness, so exciting to get back to work after the holidays. Love the pun. Exciting. Get it? Exciting's going on? Yes, I know. It's bad. It's good. It's good and bad. Exciting's on there. It's looking good. Another eventful week out at the tiny house. Monday we put the last pieces of siding up, and we did lots of screwing all around, getting the siding very well attached. And here we are working away Tuesday, getting ready to put the fascia boards up around the top of the siding, around the edge of the roof. Here we go Wednesday, chopping up the trim. Thursday, putting some holes in the floor for the drain lines and putting caulking in all of the little screw holes all over this thing. Friday, we're up underneath this beast, roughing in the drain lines. A beautiful rainbow out at the tiny house, and a good week. Lots getting done. We're underneath the tiny house, putting in all the drain lines, and some people are also patching up the caulking and getting everything nice and watertight. There's the P-trap for the shower. And we're also putting in the PEX water supply lines, which go in nice and quick. Also put the dog door in. We got 2 showers, one outside, one inside. The shower valves are right there next to each other. And making sure they're in the exact right spot is an important task. Gotta double check, make sure it's gonna work when it's finished. Big thank you to Spencer and Ashley of Good Bones Design Build Construction. So grateful that they came and talked to us on Wednesday. Let us know about what they do and how they do it. A propane hot water heater is attached to the front of the tiny house. And here is a look at all of the PEX fittings. Another productive week out at the tiny house. Almost done with the rough-ins. Monday we got the water out to the hot water heater. We got the main electrical boxes in, and we started putting in all the boxes for the electrical. All the switch boxes, all the outlet boxes, all the light boxes. Tuesday, worked on the bathroom fan, making sure that was in. Also putting in more of the boxes, which gets us ready for our Drippy Wednesday, where we run the wires, pull the wires. So we started pulling the wires all around the tiny house. That's what we did. Thursday, also a drippy day, and we spent it pulling wires, getting all the wires put where they need to be, and also getting ready to wire up the main box. Friday was an exciting day for me. We got to turn on the power after wiring the main. We turned on the power and tested a few things. Tested the bathroom fan, tested the outdoor light, things that'll be hard to test once the spray foam is in. Here we are, getting ready for the insulation, testing the hot water heater, building bump outs around the wheel wells, getting the mini split ducting in, all for the big day. SDI Insulation, thank you for hooking us up. Great partners, thank you guys. Next day we took down the rain structure. It's going to be in the way of the roofing, which should be coming next week, weather allowing. Now that the insulation is in, we can move the shower into place, get that put in, frame in our little wall next to it, which is going to become a couple sets of shelves. That'll be fun to see come together. Now it's time to start getting the wall sheathing in place. We're going to use a 1/4 inch thick poplar plywood. First we put down a little bit of construction adhesive, then some finishing nails. It's nice to have a team to work on this, to hold this up on the ceiling, as you can only imagine it would be tough to do by yourself. This week at the tiny house, we put on the inside sheathing, which was mostly 1/4 inch plywood, which requires lots of cutting and measuring and dry fitting to make sure it fits into its place just right. Bathroom gets the water-resistant drywall in there. And now we find ourselves ready to put the primer on. So we're going to prime the 1/4 inch plywood. We'll put 2 coats of primer on, and then we'll put on 2 coats of paint. And that will leave us in good shape to continue on with the project, put in the floor, and not worry about dripping on it. We'll definitely need to do some touch-ups and some patches, but we shouldn't have to do quite so much painting, which would be nice. The last little thing, we put the self-leveling mortar material on the floor of the bathroom, so we're ready to put in tile. Another great week at the tiny house, getting the bathroom all mudded up and getting some custom shelving put into otherwise vacant stud walls. So it's nice to make use of a wall that would otherwise be just closed up in drywall. We get a nice set of shelves. Thursday, we get to install the hardwood floor, which we, per manufacturer's spec, left sitting in the tiny house for more than 72 hours, so everything should have a similar moisture content. Put down the underlayment, some guidelines to help us make sure that we keep everything nice and parallel. And we nail around 2 of the edges, and then we glue everything else together. Friday, we get the roof all ready for the roofing, which means we make it nice and smooth. We remove any staples. We take off little edges that stuck over the top. We get the router out to do that. Another great week at the tiny house, getting that bed or living room platform installed in the back of the tiny house. Looking good. Now it's time to start getting those kitchen cabinets put into place and the stairs that are going to rise up over top of them and take you up to the loft. Oh my, super big thank you to Letitia Hankey of ARS Roofing and her crew. Adam and Keith, thank you guys. A beautiful PVC roof was installed on Wednesday. It looks beautiful. Many, many thanks. That brings us back to our kitchen cabinets and to our butcher block kitchen counter. Another great week at the tiny house. What are we doing? We're tiling. We're tiling the bathroom floor. 12-inch porcelain tiles. There goes the thin set and the tiles with 1/8-inch spacers. Everybody gets a chance to do a few. Hopefully we'll do a little more tiling with the kitchen. We'll have to wait and see. guess I don't have any good footage of the grout being put in, but there's all the thin set. And then we got some finished pictures with the grout as that came a day later. So there we go. There is our bathroom floor. You can see we are working on the stairs and the kitchen counter. Did some stain on the kind of our upside down stair stringer and our bed platform. There it is. We got to go up the stairs and pose for a picture. We're also doing our built-ins. So we're building a little closet, entertainment unit, some shelves, and storage. Storage everywhere. That is the name of the game in a tiny house. Another great week at the tiny house. I want to talk about what you can't see. Spent a lot of time underneath the tiny house hooking up the shower to the plumbing. Alright, now about what you can't see. Getting the stairs put in and the vent, the hood vent over the stove, and lots of built-ins. Lots and lots of storage. That's what we're building now. More storage boxes. And we needed to tweak the tile just a bit to make sure we got the toilet flange properly put in there, nice and flush. So that little bit of tile got trimmed off, and then holes were drilled in the tile to attach the tile flange to the floor. Lots of trim was cut and ripped and made to size. It's a little too drippy to paint it up, but next week we'll get to paint it and install it. It's going to look beautiful. And we did get to install the hood vent over the range today, so you can really see where the stove is going to be. Wow, another great week at the tiny house. Such an exciting week. The trim got put on the windows. There's a nice shot of how we're doing our trim. And the electrical got buttoned down. And at the end of the week, we got to test it. Such an exciting day today. So I'm recording this on a Friday. Gosh, we got the electrical all done. Turned the lights on. Wow. So here we're working through it. We're working on the trim and the electrical, kind of going back and forth. Here's a shot of the entertainment unit and closet at the foot of the bed. Here's some very handsome cedar that's going to go over top of the wheel well. Such a triumphant day with the lights on. Another great week at the tiny house. We've been doing lots of custom cabinets and painting and priming the pieces that we're putting in, which is what you see here. A lot of the work's going on outdoors, but we're getting it buttoned down, getting that custom stuff put in. Wednesday, big thank you to Ken Mayer of Mayer Construction, hosting a fantastic field trip. Thank you, Ken. Here's a new shot angle for you. We are doing the backsplash for our kitchen. Some light gray porcelain tiles mounted to cement board. Getting that put in little piece by little piece. Here's some grout going on. Which cleaned up really nicely. We've been working on our other built-ins. There is the table getting popped up and down, dialing that guy in. Very functional. And also you'll see the cabinet door just got put on. It's really starting to come together. Yes, you guessed it, another great week at the tiny house. Monday, we were patching up holes and caulking and getting ready to do this, painting away. Tuesday, we were so lucky to have George Fitzpatrick of Fitzpatrick Heating and Air Conditioning there in Fairfax, gave us a great talk, helped us with our mini split, told us about air conditioners and heating, and really appreciated his expertise. There's the painted, at least the base coat has been painted. There it is. Wednesday, another exciting day. The toilet went in. There it is. It's ready. Woohoo! Toilet is in, and we got the sinks all ready. Getting the drain lines taken care of. Which leads to Thursday. I don't have the best camera angle on this one, but gosh, Thursday was awesome. We tested all of the plumbing. We had the sink going, we had the toilet flushing. What a satisfying thing to do. That was great. Friday, we're working on the loft railing, which is going to receive the barn door shelves, which we're working on. So today, mostly working on the loft railing. There's kind of the process, drilling the holes, sanding it up. We also got to do quite a bit of touch-up, and we painted some of our trim outside that'll be installed shortly. I really like the way the railing turned out. I think once the sliding shelves go on there, it'll really pull that whole wall together. Yes, another great week at the tiny house. Didn't have the camera going outside, but I did get lucky enough to get some pictures. Thank you, good students, for taking pictures. We built the door for the bathroom, which is, of course, being a tiny house is more than just a door. It is also shelves. So we got to use the biscuit joiner and some pocket screws, and we put it together. And soon we'll prime it and paint it, and then we'll get to install it by the end of the week. By the end of this video, you'll get to see it in place. Big thank you to 2 board members who came by and visited this week. Nico and Hannah, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. As we move through the week, we are trimming and patching and priming, making everything as pretty as we can as we get towards finished. That's what we're creeping towards. We're getting lots of little things done. The door, there it is, sliding back and forth, still not quite done, but we're doing lots of little patching, lots of little grout, little paint, little touch-up, caulking and painting and patching, getting it ready to go. Another great week at the tiny house. This week has us putting on the finishing touches on the outside of the tiny house. We've painted it in this block style, color blocking style, which I like. I think it came out nice. Finishing touches also going on that bathroom door that doubles as shelves. Needed to add a little bit more, some little shelves on one side and a rail on the bottom. Get it in there, get it sliding smooth. Lots of little touch-up painting and caulking inside, getting rid of any little cracks, doing as best we can to get those defects out of there. Another big thank you and big shout out to Fitzpatrick Heating and Air Conditioning in Fairfax. They vacuumed out our lines and we fired up the heater and air conditioner. Works wonderfully. We added a railing to our stairs, help you get up and down. At this point, you know it, another great week at the tiny house. This week we are making stools. We're making some furniture. We're making some very super solid elephant ready stools that fit underneath the desk in the tiny house or the table in the tiny house. So we're using actually a butcher block material and we're chopping it all up, getting it all the pieces ready so that we can assemble it. Once we have all the pieces cut and ready, we are using a biscuit joiner and some pocket screws for our jointry. We attach it. When we have a glue up, we go do other things. There is the outdoor shower. Gosh, it ended up really nice. So we're working back away on the stools. There they are, slipping underneath the table there. That's where they're meant to go. Here we are checking them out, making sure that they've got no wobble and that they're comfortable to sit on. Now they get the clear coat to protect them, make them last longer. There is the finished stools. There they are. There they are. Sleek, simple design. All the while doing little touch-ups and cleanups all over the tiny house, getting it ready to go. Even cleaning up the job site a little bit. Pulled some things out, moved some of the plywood around, got it stored. Here's another built-in, a desk, sliding drawer. Another great week at the tiny house. The last week where I'll be wearing my work boots. I'll be switching to tennis shoes. This next week we are cleaning and staging. Oh my goodness, it's almost done. Here we are working on the finishing touches and getting ready for having the house in downtown San Anselmo so people can come take a look next Friday and Saturday. Bathroom vanity. It's going in, a little medicine cabinet and some towel racks going into the bathroom. The shower curtain is going in. There's the medicine cabinet. Had a chance to do a field trip. Thank you to our hosts. Kitchen sink's got a cover on it. Here's a picture of the bathroom. Almost done. Almost done. That blue tape will come off when the construction adhesive is finished setting up, holding a piece of steel as our backsplash. Getting down to it. Getting down to it. Oh my goodness. I would say another great week at the tiny house, but that would be a terrible understatement this week. Holy moly. Started off with a wonderful graduation ceremony. You saw that Phoenix emblem, as this really does feel like we are finally rising from the ashes. We finished off the beautiful tiny house. Don't worry, I will make another video. It's all about a tour of the tiny house. I'll get that done sooner than later. We hooked up the tiny house and headed into downtown San Anselmo to let people know that we exist, get our name out there a little bit. So we were down there Friday and Saturday. Don't worry, Mom, it's on 4 times speed, so we're really not driving the tiny house that fast. We're going a little bit slow. It was an absolutely wonderful atmosphere down there. We thank the town for having it, letting us have a little space out by the park. Big thanks to Longway for their support, and also Creekside for their support. Super happy to have their support out there. Great showing. This is what it felt like. I mean, it felt like it just flew by. Blah, blah, blah. That's what it felt like. And I don't really even know how to talk about this. The man John, that's him, and his dog Hota. John and Hota are getting the tiny house. As you probably know at this point, John lost his home in the bear fire back in September, and this is going to be his new home, and we are just tickled and touched to have had him on the job site. The dog's clearly at home. And then it finishes with the tiny house off to John. Away it goes. We say goodbye to the tiny house, and John says hello to his new home. What a week. A real whirlwind